Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. I just left Walter Reed Medical Center. And I learned so much in coronavirus. Don't be afraid of it. You're gonna beat it. We have the best medical equipment. Don't be afraid of it. It felt great, like better than I have in a long time. Don't be afraid of it. I didn't feel so good. Don't be afraid of it. You're gonna beat it. We have the coronavirus. Don't be afraid of it. And now I'm better. Maybe I'm immune. I don't know. Be afraid of it. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Be afraid of it. Don't let that happen. We're the greatest country in the world. Be afraid of it. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there. Be careful. We have the best medicines in the world, and it all happened very shortly, and they're all getting approved, and the vaccines are coming momentarily.
Today, I'm pleased to make a truly historic announcement in our battle against the China virus that will save countless lives. Convalescent, strong antibodies from the blood of recovered patients to help treat patients battling a current infection. Convalescent, this is the only possible, and it's only made possible because of Operation Convalescent. Today, I'm pleased to make a truly historic announcement in our battle against the China virus that will save countless lives. We provided $48 million to fund the Mayo Clinic study that tested the efficacy of convalescent the virus. Convalescent. This is the only possible, and it's only made possible because of Operation.
All right, welcome everybody. It's good to have an opportunity to just sort of get caught up on stuff because there's so much we've fallen behind on. The big news is that we now have a comprehensive report on so-called voter fraud, and there was none that would have any impact on the election. If there were any attempts at voter fraud, they seem to be almost exclusively on the Republican side. But in either case, we have very, very close to final election results. And I'm going to get to a new New York Times report on that very soon. And the pressure is building on the president to say I lost. And at this point, unclear whether what we will hear from anybody from this administration today, or who knows even when. But the results are increasingly clear. The margin of victory now 5.15 million votes for Joe Biden. Georgia has still not been called, but it's mostly an academic exercise at this point. As you know, Pennsylvania has been called and Arizona has been called, Michigan, North Carolina, not yet called by the Associated Press. I believe some have called it, but it was never really part of the equation for Donald Trump. In other words, it was almost a necessary part of the equation for Donald Trump. It was not a part of, once we saw the way things were going on election night, it was not likely to be a part of Joe Biden's eventual winning margin, which now sits at 290 to 217, but we are still officially waiting for North Carolina and Georgia. Alaska has been called. Now, in the midst of all of this, coronavirus has exploded. And some of you might remember Donald Trump said, November 4th, you'll never hear about coronavirus again. Everything will be open, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And in fact, we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing even red state governors say, everybody's got to wear a mask. We've got to start curfews. We have to start shutting things down. Utah's Republican governor saying mask mandate. Fortunately, we're getting some leadership from Joe Biden on coronavirus, and the Trump administration is trying to shut Biden out to the extent that they can. But he has a coronavirus task force. It has already met. Michael Osterholm from that coronavirus task force has already said we may need a 4 to 6 week shutdown. If we do it, we will make sure financially people are taken care of. We will spend money if we need to do it. We have the money. But look at these numbers, 144,000 new cases yesterday, nearly 1,500 deaths. And as you can see, it's crazy. Look at these numbers. When we were here, we thought this is insane, 32,000 cases a day. And then cases started trickling down to about 20,000. And then we got here, 70,000 cases a day. And we said, oh my God, it's insane. And then we got back down to about 35,000 cases a day. And look at where we are right now. And as far as deaths go, the deaths are spiking. We are now at a 9/11 every 2 days. And remember that these death numbers are based on the case numbers from roughly October 20th, 21st. If you go back to October 20th, 21st, there were half the cases a day then, less than half. 40%. So simple math suggests that within 3 weeks, and this is, it's horrifying. Within 3 weeks, we could be at a 9/11 every single day. Where was it? I think it was it here that Donald Trump said 15 cases would soon be zero? I think it was right around, I don't remember if that was middle to late March or early April, but somewhere during this almost parabolic ascent in terms of the death toll, Donald Trump said 15 cases would soon be zero. Mid-March it was? Okay, fair. So that's what's going on as far as coronavirus goes. And, now that we think back to when Fauci said, guys, if we're not careful, we could get to 100,000 cases a day in the fall. And all of these lunatics said, no, that would never happen. Never. This guy's crazy. And Fauci was too conservative. Understand that. The crowds at Trump's rallies were chanting, fire Fauci. And Fauci, if anything, was not alarmist enough about the situation. Now we have a lot of hopes wrapped up in the vaccine. There are still questions about the vaccine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to look at some of the latest allegations from Trump Jr., from Rudy Giuliani. I have memes. I just have tons of different stuff. And then, of course, there is increased pressure for Trump to say something. And if it were to happen, this would typically be the time of day where it would happen. Let me check the latest Trump schedule. So the reason that there's some suspicion we may hear from Trump is at 4:00, Trump had a meeting with Pompeo and Mnuchin, or Machuchin, as one of my viewers called him. So if we are to hear from Trump today, it would be, I know, schedule, right? The schedule is you sit at the White House and you watch Fox News. Actually, no, it's not even Fox News anymore. Now it's Newsmax and OAN, which I will also get to. I have new extremist voicemails to play for you. But let's start with the voter fraud, and then I'm going to go to super chats, and we're going to go to all sorts. Well, I'm going to do recent firings. I see Bing and who else? Just all sorts of people are telling me to talk about the firings. Let's go in order, please. Let's take it piece by piece. First and foremost, no evidence of voter fraud. OK, it's very easy when things are crazy. You look at Donald Trump Jr.'s tweets, and then you look at Giuliani's podcast and all of this different stuff. And it just sounds overwhelming, like they're alleging fraud in Pennsylvania. They're saying people had envelopes full of fraud in Michigan, all this different stuff. You have to really step back. The New York Times called officials in every state, no evidence of voter fraud. The president and his allies have baselessly claimed that rampant voter fraud stole victory from him. Officials contacted by the Times said there were no irregularities that affected the outcome. This means you call Republican and Democratic secretaries of state. This means you call Republican and Democratic, deputy secretary. We're talking about, this is not a partisan thing. Election officials in dozens of states representing both political parties said there was no evidence that fraud or other irregularities played a role in the outcome of the presidential race, amounting to a forceful rebuke of President Trump's portrait of a fraudulent election. Over the last several days, the president, members of his administration, congressional Republicans, and right-wing allies have put forth the false claim that the election was stolen from Mr. Trump and have refused to accept results that showed Joseph R. Biden Jr. as the winner. But some people ridiculed me, by the way, for referring to him as Joseph R. Biden Jr. Now everybody's doing it. It was weird. I had somebody say they found it pretentious when I would say it, and they were no longer going to watch streams. And now everybody's saying Joseph R. Biden Jr. Top election officials across the country said in interviews and statements that the process had been a remarkable success despite record turnout and the complications of a dangerous pandemic. Other relevant questions. I mean, they have anecdotes. Kansas didn't experience it. Minnesota doesn't know of a single case. Ohio Secretary of State said the conspiracy theories and rumors are running rampant, but it's mythology, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is interesting. Statewide officials in Texas did not respond to repeated inquiries, but a spokeswoman for the top elections official in Harris County, the largest county in Texas, with a population greater than many states, said there were only a few minor issues and we had a very seamless election. I do think it's worth mentioning that when you have 160 million votes cast, of course you are going to have anecdotal allegations of a lot of stuff. There may well be even, here we go now, there may even be dozens of instances of someone who sent an absentee ballot and then died by election day, or a double registration, but it would not even come close to making a difference in any state. That's the important thing, because then when we say there was not even a single instance of accidental anything, then they say, well, look at this person, a supposed 122-year-old voted in Wisconsin, or some random thing. The question is, would it make any difference in even a single county, never mind state? And the answer is, of course, no. No, it would not. Some states described small problems common to all elections, which they said they were addressing. A few instances of illegal or double voting. I should have just read it. It's literally what I'm saying. Some technical glitches, some minor errors in math. Officials in all states are conducting their own review of the voting, a standard component of the certification process. So this is the big headline. No evidence of voter fraud relevant to the results in any state. Oh shit. So we enabled Nightbot, and I wonder if Nightbot is going a little too crazy. It's just been turned on. I have not tweaked any of it right now. And if Nightbot is going crazy, I apologize. Moderators, please, let me know what we need to change. I don't even know what's going on. It's just been turned on, and need to change spam filters. Okay, we'll deal with that after, guys, because there's a lot going on. Okay, let me read a few super chats, then I'm going to get to the Trump firings, which are very, very important. Let me go to the top. Pat says, while everyone's watching Trump's diversion of voter fraud, anyone paying attention to how he is giving away the store, arms deals with other nefarious countries. Recent firings are the most important topic. Chakaseki says Corey Flewandowski tested positive for the China plague. What is more ignominious than losing an election, getting infected by a virus you deny? Have you seen that Trump sketch where he's being removed from the White House and is yelling, you can't replace me. What about me? You can't do this to me. I have not seen it. Alexander says, according to a tweet, Congressman Ted Lieu retweeted Trump advisors in a Zoom call, talked about faithless electors. So my question is, do you think faithless electors will help Trump win? So I would not be shocked if there are some faithless electors. I do not believe there will be 20 or 36, which by the time this is all said and done would be the number you need to overturn the election. There were two faithless electors in 2016. Trump earned 306 electoral votes. There were two faithless electors. We thought maybe there would be 8 or 10. There were 2, and he ended up with 304. But it was not enough to overturn the results. I don't believe it will be enough to overturn the results this time. Chris says, David, hire Jenk for your show. He's great. I don't know if you guys understand, but we have 4 employees and TYT has 70. If anybody's hiring anybody, it would be Jenk hiring me. But I'm perfectly happy on my own show. But I don't know the power dynamics are a bit upside down there. I don't think it would be us who would be hiring Cenk, but I like the idea. I like the idea. Okay, let's now go to the firings, okay? This is also a massive, massive story. Trump's firings at the Pentagon put our national security at risk. Over the past few days, President Trump has fired 4 of the top officials in the Pentagon: Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and the Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Defense. In essence, he has, military term alert, decapitated our operational civilian leadership of the military. High fives are likely happening from Beijing to Moscow to Caracas. It appears to be a simple act of vengeance against the team Trump felt did not support him in the run-up to the election. In their place, he has installed a largely unknown group of political sycophants who have neither the stature nor the experience to undertake these jobs, each of which is vital to our national security. Some Americans may simply shrug it off and say, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. But having served 2 years as senior military assistant to the SecDef as a 3-star vice admiral, I can assure you it matters. These moves diminish our national security markedly over the next couple of months until the new Biden administration takes over. Why does it matter so much? And the author, who is James Stavridis, goes on to explain. Read the article, but I actually have sort of a bigger red alert to sound for you. Understand, if you're a foreign power right now, or if you're an adversary, or if you're an enemy, or if you're a terrorist group right now, okay? We've known that for a long time, Donald Trump has gotten very bored during his presidential daily briefings. They've reduced it to a single page. Often the page is like very few. It's a couple bullet points and then some pictures, like charts or graphs. Even reduced to that, in the back of the room, there's often a TV with Fox News. Now it would be like OAN or Newsmax. And very often, even during the briefing, that's a page with pictures, Trump would get distracted and look to the back of the room. So as a general thing, if you're a terrorist group, you know, Trump is not really on the ball, but maybe in the Pentagon, they're on the ball. You now have a situation. Think about this. I mean, really, Trump doesn't pay attention. He's not even getting his PDBs anymore. He's fired people at the Pentagon and brought in sycophants who are completely in over their head. And because Trump is denying the sort of formal transition process, it won't prevent Biden from being president, but it is preventing Biden from getting the PDBs. Even some Republican senators have now said Biden should be getting PDBs. If you're a terrorist group, you're thinking there is a 2-month period here during which no president is getting the PDBs and the Pentagon is run by unqualified sycophants. It's a national security risk. It's a massive national security risk. I see some people wrote to me and said, David, you shouldn't mention it. You might be inviting. Listen, guys, the terrorists know it. I'm not inviting anything. It's not me who's giving people ideas here. It's a national security disaster. And you're right. People who are sending super chats saying, it's made even worse by the fact that now there are sycophants. Nobody is getting, the president's not getting the PDBs. The president-elect's not getting the PDBs. The Pentagon is being run by unqualified sycophants. It's a disaster. So let's try to get past this period. Let's see if we can win these 2 Senate races in Georgia. But it is an absolute and complete disaster. Let me say a few thank yous. Okay. Dan Rumain has made a pledge on Patreon. Blake Booza has signed up at joinpacman.com. Vicky Alloy has signed up. Renee Tomazel has signed up. And John Reagan has signed up. That puts us at 5 new members on my website. We are now, new policy, we are counting Twitch subs, and there have been 9 of those, which puts us at 14. Okay. So let me start. I always come prepared. We've done no evidence of fraud. We've done Pentagon is in danger. Oh, okay. Let me do this, and then we'll move on to a couple of other things. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Peter Alexander from NBC. You know, we've been wondering, does Trump really think he can win? Peter Alexander tweeted this morning, Trump is very aware there is not a path to victory, but he believes the 72 million who voted for him deserve a fight. So he's battling as a form of theater for them. a top White House aide tells me. So understand the immorality of this. Trump is claiming that he has a path to victory, but that he needs your money. He needs to fund recounts. He needs to fund all of this different horseshit. If you look at the fine print, half of the money he raises is not going to any recount. It's going to paying off his campaign debt. There are Trumpists on fixed incomes. There are Trumpists who are poor, who are donating money because they think Trump might actually be able to win if they do. Trump doesn't even think he might be able to win if they donate money. It's disgusting. And so this is not about, we need a nanny state to protect these people. No. It's not that we need government to protect these people. Government is the perpetrator. It's Trump who is scamming these people despite knowing that there is absolutely no path to victory. Privately, Trump is reportedly thinking about running in 2024. He seems to be done. He seems to be done with this, and it has worked. Look at these numbers. Let me zoom this out a little bit. Hold on. This is not framed properly for you guys. Would you say that Joe Biden legitimately won the election? 86% of Trump voters do not believe Joe Biden legitimately won. So Trump now knows that at least he's not going to get a second term. He's convinced 86% of his voters that Biden didn't legitimately win. 80% of his voters don't think Trump should concede. And then look at this. A full, hold on, wait a second. Am I looking at this right? Trump voters? Okay, yeah. 60% of Trump voters believe that what Donald Trump is doing will reverse the results. Okay? How many people voted for this guy? What was 72 million? 40 million voters in this country believe that in the next 2 months, Trump will end up getting inaugurated to a second term. How do you fight that? We're talking about, needing like mass deprogramming that I'm not aware of social psychology as a field understanding how to do. You couldn't deprogram 900 people at Jim Jones's, whatever, Jonestown or whatever they called it down in Guyana there. How do you deprogram 60 million people? How do you deprogram 40 million people? Whatever the number is, it's absolutely insane. And so the point is, even Trump doesn't believe it at this point, but his viewers, many of his voters do, which is just crazy. Okay, let me look at a couple of other super chats, and then I do have a lot of other things to get to. Alec Vanderpool says, I just wrapped up watching the regular show and the bonus show and immediately see your streaming powerfully seamless Parkman experience today. Love it. Chakaseki says the orange goose has spoken. Anyone up for some crappy KFC flavored foie gras? I don't know what that's about. DPat says, David, I like your coupon code. Coup. I like that. That's nice. These are super chats via YouTube. I wonder how many people got the virus from voting in person. Fair question. Recent firings I've discussed. Trump wins the states of hysteria, denial, and lunacy. The state of embarrassment goes to the U.S. citizens with more than 4 brain cells. Yeah. Let's listen to this. This is Doug Collins. Take a listen.
Count, is it?
Well, I think it's going to give us an opportunity to begin that. We don't know at this point, especially with some of the concerns that have been raised.
NBC News Now.
So that's Doug Collins. He's continuing to pretend like these recounts might reverse the results. And I think he's talking about Georgia, by the way, which is not even necessary. Biden doesn't even need Georgia at this point. It's bizarre what's going on. Fox Business, urgent Fox Business. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to hear a couple of voicemails? The voicemails from the sycophants have continued to come in. I'll play a couple of them. So earlier in the week, I played to you a Jimmy from Philly voicemail from November 4th, where he was like, all hopped up. And then a Jimmy from Philly voicemail from November 6th. And in the November 6th voicemail, he was almost despondent. He left a voicemail on November 10th It's only 19 seconds. I've not pre-screened it, so I do want to warn you guys. I don't know what to expect, but let's take a listen.
David, Jimmy from Philly. White. A, Biden is not the president-elect. B, it's true that this is a contested election. C, Trump will win.
Oh, boy. Okay. Now, what does he say at the beginning there? Does he say Jimmy from Philly white? Is he telling us his race? Let me listen to that.
Jimmy from Philly. White. A.
Does anybody know what he's saying? Is he announcing his race? I don't know what that is. That's bizarre. White. Wiped? What would wiped mean? Like he wiped before calling? That would be a strange thing to announce. Okay. All right. And then I've got a couple other voicemails for you guys here. Okay. I've got the San Antonio troll. This guy's specialty is calling in to argue with me about things I've never discussed. He calls in to tell me I'm wrong about things I've never talked about. Again, this is not pre-screened. Let's take a listen.
Pac-Man, what is good? What is good? What is good? I have, well, I'm not going to say it, but I have a really nice, for the nickname you have given me, I have a really nice WWE style thing, but I'm not going to do it because I know you wouldn't play it. But here's the thing. I wanted to call a really important issue. So I think that progressives, I think the problem with you guys is that, I mean, by and large, why America rejects progressive ideas, which is why Bernie got destroyed in the primaries twice. And the second time worse than last. America will never be socialist. America will never be progressive. Tell you why. Progressives want to buy.
It's weird because like progressive ideas are very popular. Listen, it's like Biden won the popular vote easily. If you want to talk about popularity, it's literally in the term popular vote. Biden won by 5.1 million votes. And you have these anti-democratic systems like the Senate. Wyoming gets 2 senators, guys. Right? Wyoming has 500,000 people. They get 2 senators. California has 40 million people. They get 2 senators. It's fundamentally undemocratic. The senators representing just 17% of the American population could unilaterally acquit Donald Trump on impeachment. Then you've got gerrymandering and the urban-rural divide, which at a systemic level favors Republicans. Then you have the Electoral College, which favors Republicans. You understand what I'm saying. So anyway, the idea of popular seems like the wrong way to go.
The moderate. I'm cool with Biden. I'm actually okay with him. The only thing I didn't really like his gun policies. Otherwise, he's not that bad. He's very, very Republican light almost. And I'm not even a fucking Republican. But the reason progressives are very authoritarian in their policies. And what's interesting is they're authoritarian to others, but not themselves. So you think,
sort of like we're for small government. Unless you're gay, then we need the government to ban that. Unless you want an abortion, then we need the government to ban that. Unless, come on, God, these are so, maybe I would imagine this is a 17-year-old, except he's been calling me for like a decade.
Example, the worker co-op thing, how you want worker co-ops everywhere, but your own company's not a worker co-op.
Okay, there we go. This is where so I'm going to end it here. This is where he gets into things I've never said I want to authoritarianly install worker co-ops. In fact, I'm not a socialist. I've said one of the things that makes me not a socialist is I would never say I want the government to impose that businesses must be worker co-ops. Like socialists criticize me for that, but don't then accuse me of wanting that. I've made clear I don't want that. So anyway, that's this guy's specialty, criticizing me for things I've never actually said. Then we have Troy York continuing to call in. I guess we'll listen to one more of the Troy York ones.
David Pakman, a man who has committed a sinister plot, election rigging, such as Joe Biden and his political party, and where he even tells everyone that he has organized the biggest election fraud system there is.
Troy York's particularly incoherent today, so we probably won't get through all of this.
Is not going to get into White House. You can talk about him not being rattled, make all these videos of him not laughing off Trump's assertions. But the fact is, inside it's eating Joe Biden. He's not going to be in the White House January 20th. The American people realize and are spreading the news despite the.
It's interesting. Two of our regular Trumpist callers in the last day have called in to say Biden will not be president. So when I showed you that poll, which said 60% of Trump voters believe ultimately Trump will be reelected, we're seeing it on our voicemail lines. So it's absolutely and completely true. Okay. Oh, let's listen to this. This is important. Republicans breaking with Trump.
Prepare for the transition here.
I would think, especially on the classified briefings, the answer is yes.
Do you think that Vice President Biden should be getting security briefings?
Yeah.
So Joe Biden was getting those briefings until the election was over. They stopped. And I think it's important that both continue to get those briefings until the Electoral College makes its final determination.
Obviously.
We still don't know who the president's going to be at this point. And so we should be in the same posture that we were in throughout the whole campaign, with both of them receiving briefings.
Okay, so at least he's saying Biden should get the briefing. But what does he mean we don't know who the president's ultimately going to be? We do know. We do know. Guys, I understand that Nightbot is pretty aggressive in both YouTube and Twitch. This is our first time using it. I am going to make a request for both YouTube and Twitch moderators. If the ones who are really familiar with Nightbot, if you guys want to email me after the stream, I will look at exactly which settings need to be tweaked. And I will gladly do that. I'm aware we're just starting to use Nightbot, and it's going to need to be tweaked. Okay, a few other super chats from folks. Chakaseki says someone on Twitter called Mike Pompeo a pantloaf. No finer description of him exists. Nice. Sam says there's a new update about the Pennsylvania lawsuit. Secretary of State lacked authority to change deadline 2 days before Election Day. Okay, I'll look into that. I'm unaware of that. EP says, I'm in Arizona, got a call asking me to confirm I was the one who actually cast the ballot in my name. They are desperately looking for evidence. They are. Jorah Monathan says, let's talk about the real issue, DP. Did you get your daily dose of vitamin D today? Yes, I did, although it was kind of cloudy. When are you chatting with Vaush? So listen, I actually, so I already interviewed Vaush yesterday, or Vaush. And we published a little clip of it already, in fact. Let me see where it is. Hold on. Instagram. I think we might have published this to Instagram. The full interview with Vaush is publishing tomorrow. It's a half-hour interview. I think many of you will find it super interesting. But let me see if I have the clip here. Hold on. Hey, this is absolutely nuts. I don't want to spend a ton of time on. No, hold on. So where is it? I don't even know where. Jeez. Let me figure out. I want to give you guys a little bit of a clip of Vaush. It's actually, it's funny. There's a lot of funny stuff in it. Let me just see if I can do it. Where is the Vaush interview? I'm going now into the shareable link. Okay. I'll give you guys just a little bit of the Vaush interview, just to see if you guys have some sense of it. I'm going to get you this last question. This last question to Vaush was really interesting, but you're going to have to wait until tomorrow for the whole thing. Take a listen. We agree. We definitely are agreeing on more than I imagined. Maybe this is where we could end it. Do you think an open-faced omelet is a pizza? Where do you come down on that?
I am a culinary and linguistic descriptivist. I think that if you want to call it a pizza, you have to, and I will respect your right to do so.
So an open-faced omelet, you're fine calling a pizza?
Absolutely, I am.
Wow.
100%.
That's huge. That's huge. And if you put a tortilla under it, then it's absolutely a pizza, right?
I mean, that nails it home. Not that it needed that affirmation, but.
Okay, anyway, so we've got that, and that's all going to be happening, and it's extremely, extremely hard-hitting interview, as you can all imagine. Okay, good. I have a million more things to get to, so let me just get an update from the standpoint of members. Okay, we were at 24. Now we're at 8. So that's an additional 4. That puts us at 18. 2493 on Twitch is plus 9. That's 27. Perfect. That's a perfect number. Okay. All right. Let me read a few other super chats. Then I want to get to a few other things here. Stuart says, can you do televangelist Copeland's fake laugh? Yeah, we can look at that. I know that I never got to it. Here's just a tweet from Don Jr. Then I'll use this window. With so many irregularities, for Americans to ever have faith in our systems, we need full audits everywhere. Michigan Republican Party state senators are requesting a full audit of the 2020 general election. These people are delusional. You know, it's like it barely even makes sense to engage with it. Kenneth Copeland laugh videos. So this is televangelist Kenneth Copeland. He has made, I think it's like either 300 million or 700 million bamboozling people. He has a very bizarre appearance, and he, I guess, tried to laugh off the idea that Joe Biden will be the next president. All right, take a listen to this.
The media said what? The media said Joe Biden's president.
By the way, this guy really disturbs me. Every time I see this video, this guy's laugh, it seems like he's 5% skeptical, where he's kind of doing it, but he's like, I don't know about this. This might be a little too weird. Then people start standing, which is just lunacy. His mouth seems to unhinge at the jaw in a way that's weird. Okay, anyway. So that's that. COVID numbers, everybody's saying hospitalizations are still low. They are not. Here was the peak hospitalization level during spike 1, peak hospitalization level during spike 2, and we are there. We are there, and we are climbing, and it's going to be even further. This is data from the COVID tracking project. I would suggest following them on Twitter. Really, really good. Oh, okay. I do want to deal with this tweet. Donald Trump tweeted 2 different things today. I think it's 2 things. Yeah, otherwise it's retweets. Trump is now going after Fox News, tweeting, Fox News daytime ratings have completely collapsed. Weekend daytime even worse. Very sad to watch this happen, but they forgot what made them successful, what got them there. They forgot the golden goose. I guess that means Trump. The biggest difference between the 2016 election and 2020 was Fox News. So Trump now going after them. Suspicions are Trump wants to launch his own competing platform. And then this is just crazy. Report Dominion deleted 2.7. Imagine deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Data analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from Trump to Biden. 941,000 Trump votes deleted. States using Dominion voting systems switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden. And look who it comes from. Chanel Rion at OAN. And of course, this claim about election fraud is disputed. Voter fraud of any kind is exceedingly rare in the U.S., election experts confirm. It's pathetic. The world is laughing at us. And we covered today on the broadcast show how increasingly world leaders are just done with Trump. They're moving on. Here is one example. I don't know why the hell this video is so... Look at how little this is. I have no clue why it's so little. This is Lou Dobbs on Fox Business, okay? Interviewing. This is exclusive, okay? This is one of the voter fraud people who has devastating evidence of voter fraud. She can barely put together a coherent thought. Okay, take a look at this.
So so I worked a 24-hour shift. I started at 6 a.m. and I got off at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. The next day.
This video is incredible. Yeah.
So I started at 6 a.m. November 3rd.
Okay, so we've established when she worked. Good.
Got off at 6 a.m. November 4th.
And actually, I would rather her adjust it for time zone, too, because that might have been 7 a.m. on the East. We don't know.
So I was there during their day shift and their night shift. The city provides the workers with food for their shift. Well, they only had enough food for 1/3.
Whoa. Hold on a second. There wasn't enough food. All right, go on.
Of their workers.
Boy.
So that is the reason why they were claiming that these vans were brought in. But these vans did not have food taken out of them.
Supposedly, they didn't even have a kosher option, in fact, is what I read. Not even, they didn't have kosher. They didn't have Asian vegetarian. They lacked a bland meal, which at this point, every airline offers a bland meal. This place doesn't even offer the bland meal. It's crazy.
And the vans that showed up, they were supposed to be filled with food.
Not only that, I read that the vans are supposed to be filled with 93 octane gasoline. Workers were reportedly seen going cheap and filling the vans up with 89 octane gasoline, too.
What did they have in them? Do you know?
I never saw anything being brought out of the vans. I know that whatever was being brought out of the vans was being brought out of the back of the vans. But I was not allowed over in that area at all.
So essentially, she saw nothing other. I really need you guys to understand that when Kayleigh McEnany holds up stacks of affidavits, okay, an example affidavit would be like this woman's story, okay? She saw vans. She was not allowed near the van. And there was not enough food for the poll workers. That's an affidavit. Okay, that's one of the affidavits that they're saying, I guess, is proof of some kind of voter fraud. It's crazy. It really doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that's your voter fraud there. That's the latest. Okay, let me get to some other messages. Slip and Shank via Twitch says, keep it up, David. Love the content. Toolmoo says, thanks for the streams and the laughs. Can you imagine? I know. Other Twitch messages. Thanks to Deeper Shades of House for gifting 5 Tier 1 community sub gifts. Oh, wait a second. Deeper Shades of House. Deeper Shades of House. I think I know who this is. Yeah. Oh, Deeper Shades of House is our friend Lars Barenroth. Major DJ, and we are considering license. By the way, speaking of Lars, the entire EDM community, by the way, is considering, I have something special for you guys. They are considering licensing. This is a joke, by the way. Last time I mentioned this, some people thought it was for real. The EDM community is fighting over licensing rights for remixes on some of the remixes we have. I have a new one. This is from Max H Music. Okay. This is a reimagination of the David Pakman Show theme song, and it is perfect. Okay. Take a listen to this. I don't even know if this is legal. Yeah. Here's something interesting. Today's episode is sponsored by
The David Pakman Show. It's my favorite show. You normally know. The David Pakman Show.
We have so much to cover today that I will not waste any time.
The David Pakman Show.
We have so much to cover today that I will not waste any time. Anyway, yeah, that's that. I'm going to submit that as the possible theme song for the next version of the video game Portal. I think that would be absolutely perfect. And then, hold on, I have something else here too. Let me take a look at this. What's
Trump
this?
Will get reelected. She then starts speaking in tongues. Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you.
Okay, so that led to this.
Abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. 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 Fired.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Anyway, so that's pretty powerful. And then just a last thing on this Paula White thing. There's a new angle that's been released from the Paula White event, and I don't know if you guys saw who is in the back there, but look at that. It's me. I was the guy walking behind her. Isn't that crazy, with my Biden 2020 shirt? This is a sort of a more portly version of me for sure. But it was really a magical event. So that was really good. All right, guys, that's a lot of different stuff there. So I would like to hear from, I need to lay off this. David Snackman is more like it. Am I right? Okay. Very good. Let me get to, people are asking about the Facebook demonetization. I don't have any update on that. So yesterday we did a story. We have been 100% demonetized on Facebook, which is crazy because, my pen just exploded. Sorry. We have previously been 98% demonetized on YouTube, but never 100%. We are now 100% demonetized on Facebook, and nothing has changed as far as that goes. We're still at 100% demonetization, and a bunch of my viewers said, hey, I have a contact at Facebook. We're going to try to figure something out and get you in there. So far, nothing else has been said about that. But this is a beautiful time to say, this is why, I'm not joking when I say our YouTube revenue could disappear, Twitch revenue could disappear, Facebook revenue could disappear. Sign up at joinpacman.com. We have a coupon code Fresh Start. It saves you 70%. Joinpacman.com. You sign up. They can't stop us. We have control. 5 more people just did sign up on my website, which puts us at 32. And then from the standpoint of Twitch, we are at 2,500 Twitch subs on the dot. That's 7 more. We've never been at 2,500 subs. In fact, our previous high was 1,500. So let me see. 2,500 minus 1,500. 2 minus 1 is 1. 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. That's 1,000 subscribers on Twitch more than we've ever had, which is just shocking stuff. Okay. Let me do a few other super chats, and I have a couple of other things, and then I would phone calls, I don't know about maybe phone calls. Maybe if we hit our goal, we'll do some phone calls. Tiffany says, I'm unemployed but want to join so bad. As soon as I get my life back, I'll be a member. Thank you for keeping me sane. Thank you, Tiffany. Norwegian Trad Archer says, I wonder, are Trump sue that states he won in, or is it only the one he lost? Trump is only filing lawsuits in states he lost. That is true. Yeah. Masts says, Langhofer, a lawyer for the Trump campaign. This is not a fraud case. We are not alleging fraud. We are not saying anyone is trying to steal the election. Rather, he's saying there were good faith errors in the count. Okay, that's a little more realistic. Hanan Aslam says, what are Trump's chances of winning in 2024? They're more than 0. They're certainly more than 0. I won't lie. Chris says, Cenk could make you the next AOC. Think about it. Oh, my God. Charles says, what will relations with Iran look like under a Biden presidency? Iran won't trust us again. A future Republican administration will erase any progress that was made. Yeah, that's a real concern. We're going to do a bunch of foreign policy stuff next week. If I'm Iran, Obviously, I want Biden to get back into the deal with me, but I also am aware of the fact that the next guy or gal might just cancel it. And that is certainly something that I don't know how we deal with because we've lost credibility. Is Trump trying to remove evidence in the Pentagon? You'd have to tell me evidence of what? Annunziata says, do you think the Biden administration will have to address Trump and his corona super spreader events once Biden begins his presidency? No, I mean, they'll be over. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't understand, but I don't think so. Gordon says, glad you were here to help us focus on the numbers. As you mentioned earlier, we have a serious problem in our country. Keep up the good work. Pennsylvania court rules in favor of Trump. Let's look at that. Pennsylvania court rules in favor of Trump, since a couple people mentioned that. So this is from an hour ago. Let's take a look at what they had to say. Pennsylvania judge rules in favor of Trump campaign, orders state can't count some ballots. Pennsylvania state judge ruled Thursday in favor of the Trump campaign, ordered the state not to count some mail-in ballots missing proof of ID, and cured during an extended deadline. The ruling will not change the vote count as it currently stands and will not impact Joe Biden's win in the state. All right, done. Very good. Yeah, those were arguments about votes not yet counted. Important to understand. Okay. Don says, once the pardons begin, will people start to realize he doesn't think he won? Yes, I think so. I think so. Loki says, so since Trump is basically leaving the country open to attack, can we not charge him with treason? Or is it time to rise up and overthrow him? He's leaving in 9 weeks, guys. That's what's happening. He's leaving in 9 weeks. Thomas says, good day from Australia. You should take a look at the garbage coming out of Sky News Australia, constantly spewing COVID denial, saying Trump won. We did look at it on a recent stream. It's insane what's coming out of Sky News. And Justin says, David, when you say the word fraud, your Boston accent is very strong. Yeah, I don't have a Boston accent. When I say fraud, I'm sort of doing the Trump accent. But I did not grow up in Boston. Interestingly, people my age, there's much more of a sort of class element for young folks in terms of the Boston accent. It's actually a really interesting topic to study. But I did not even grow up in Boston, so it becomes irrelevant. T says, hi, Dave. I'm not going to fall for that. But T says, Dave, first time, long time. Do you tailor your button-down shirts or wear them off the rack? Some days you're practically swimming in your shirt. Beef up. That's a very private question on all fronts. I'm not going to, that would be more for like my OnlyFans or something like that. What do you think of the increases in support for Trump among minorities and LGBT people? Is this something we should be worried about? We should. And I've talked about that, and I'm talking about it on my Spanish show this week. As far as Latino voters are concerned, it is something we should be worried about. What's the deal with Florida voting overwhelmingly for higher minimum wage, but voting for Trump? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And maybe we'll do a deep dive on Florida at some point soon. Will I cover Biden's gun control plan? Sure. You can get through to Trumpists. I did so with my father. Before he passed, he became a Bernie supporter. That's interesting. Let's bet he resigns before December 20th. What's your favorite regional accent? I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite regional accent. How do you sleep at night offering that coupon code? It's truly disgusting. Yeah, it really is. It's a vile coupon code. It's vile. But it may not be around for long. So in all seriousness, grab yourselves a membership. I want to thank 8 additional people who just signed up at joinpacman.com, putting us at 47. And, oh, dear God, we've lost subscribers on Twitch. There must be monthly subscribers expiring at this point, because that is really, really weird. Okay. Other things I had. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. So Rudy Giuliani has a podcast. He just put out another episode of this podcast. Let's look at a little bit of it, because this is from the last 24 hours. I just want to see what's his new argument that he's making. Let's take a listen.
Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with Rudy's Common Sense. Today,
he seems to have 2 tablets going.
We're going to take a look with common sense
at
what remains of the ballot counting, because this election is much closer than any of the networks.
Have you guys noticed that Rudy's head often seems half shaved? I don't know if he cuts his own hair, but see how it's very, very short here. And it's 2 or 3 times as long on this side of his head. I've noticed this before. Often also his left eye is almost completely swollen shut. His lips are white, which I think may be a makeup thing. And his glasses are often crooked. It's a very bizarre look. It's a very bizarre look. Let's take a listen.
Led you to believe last Wednesday. And it is not determined yet. And there is a path to victory for the president, a path to re-election. It's not an easy path. It's not a definite path, but it's a realistic path.
What?
And having called this election so early, the big media, big tech.
Didn't it take longer than ever to call the election other than the 2000 Florida recount? What does it mean it was called quickly? It took 5 days for it to be called. I don't remember any time it was called so slowly other than the fiasco in the year 2000. Weird.
And the Democrat Party is trying to cut that off. And they're trying to cut off any consideration of it, which is outrageous, since they took over a month to allow Al Gore to contest just one state. Here, there are a number of states at issue.
Well, one of the differences was with Al Gore, there was evidence.
And a significant amount of evidence of rampant fraud.
Fraud. Thanks for the raid, by the way, book smarts.
All they say on television is there's no evidence of fraud. I'm going to now show you lots of evidence of fraud.
He has papers, too.
There's one thing for certain about this election. Not certain who won it. It's certain that this was the most dirty, the most fraudulently conducted election on the part of the Democrats than any in recent history.
Okay.
And we're going to show you just why. And we're going to begin by concentrating on 2 states, the state of Pennsylvania and the state of Michigan. We're going to concentrate on those 2 because that's where we've been able to concentrate our investigation originally, and the evidence in both states.
His lips do seem bleached. I think what's more likely going on is he's wearing improperly shaded makeup on his entire face, and it's making the lips look light by comparison.
Is overwhelming. So in the state of Pennsylvania, what you basically have is a lawsuit now filed, a federal lawsuit, seeking to disqualify the votes that were not properly observed. In fact, that weren't observed at all. Mail-in votes are inherently suspicious.
Untrue.
By that I mean they are unreliable.
Untrue.
This is not me talking. This is the Supreme Court warning us way back.
Manila folder. Tell me the folder's completely empty, guys.
Back in 2004, in a case called Griffin against Rugas, Justice Souter announced that mail-in votes are less reliable than in-person votes. Voting fraud is a serious problem.
You know, the interesting thing about that is the word less reliable is applied by the Supreme Court 20 years ago. Or what? By the way, it does seem he has an empty folder, but there may be notes written in directly on the envelope. To say that an in-person vote is more reliable than a mail-in vote, that can mean for the person casting the vote in terms of confidence it will be counted. That could mean any number of different things. To say it applies in a particular way to this election is crazy.
And is facilitated by mail voting. There are other
male voting, not female.
Supreme Court cases that make that same opinion. So having decided to go to mail voting, pushed very hard by
these guys are you would think these guys would exclusively want mail voting. That seems to be their thing.
Democrats. There had to be built in some very, very strong guarantees that nothing would be done that would compromise the vote. So the major issue, the major device that was placed there is observation, which follows on what happens with absentee ballots. For years, when you examine absentee ballots, it's almost routine. There are 3 people at least there, the counter, a Republican and a Democrat, Each one is opened. Envelope is looked at. You check the outer envelope, which is the envelope that provides really the security, because that's the one that's not anonymous. It has the name, the address, voter identification, other things that are indicia of reliability.
We need indicia. I agree with. If we don't have indicia, we have nothing.
You can check that against a voting roll. Once that is okay, both sides agree, you open it up. The ballot now virtually becomes anonymous, or should. And then, assuming there's nothing wrong with the inner envelope, every once in a while there is, usually not, then you place that in the...
Understand, guys, so remember, the number of ballots they don't want counted would have no impact on who won the state. Like, it's a crazy thing that he's doing. Let's skip ahead. First of all, I want to see if he does another cigar ad. He does. Okay, let's take a look at that.
Are not yet specified, but they were significant. This would be a good time to take a short break. If you want a good cigar, go to a good cigar shop.
Right.
You want the best, go to Famous Smoke Shop. Let Famous Smoke deliver your favorite cigars right to your doorstep at America's lowest prices. Famous opened in 1939 as a small shop in New York City. Today,
imagine encouraging smoking. Okay, let's go back now to the meat of this whole thing.
Should be overturned. This vote should be overturned. We're well past the mark in the small margin of victory. And we have a very, very highly circumstantial situation that he was behind. Biden was by 700,000 votes. And we can count 630,000 that were put in unlawfully.
Oh, my God. So that's completely untrue. I think they're talking about, I'm not even going to say the number of ballots, but the point is, you have to actually look at what's happening in court. And what's happening in court, even if you grant it, would not overturn the results in Pennsylvania.
Sounds like a pretty close equation of the two things, doesn't it? Worse than that, you'd say, well, this only happened in Philadelphia, which is the capital of voter fraud. I mean, Philadelphia has a 60-year history of voter fraud. Recently, a conviction of several officials there.
Obviously, since there's such a history of voter fraud in Philadelphia, it's where you would go in order to do more voter fraud. Anybody knows that.
For voter fraud, I mean, just as a matter of interest, Joe Frazier, the former heavyweight champ, has voted in Philadelphia after he died. The grandfather of the actor Will Smith has voted in Philadelphia before.
I don't know about any of those things. These are really common names. I don't know if it's just other people with their names. For all I know, someone named Joe Frazier really did go to vote, but there was a mix-up and they voted as a different Joe Frazier. Each of you have to research every single one of these things. Let's skip ahead a little bit and just do the tiniest bit more here.
A couple more ballots needed so we can catch up on Trump. What do you say? You decide. And then these ballots, in complete violation of the law of secrecy of voting, are left out on the street wide open. That's the way crooks handle ballots. That's the way professional voter thieves.
The other thing is, if those ballots were mishandled, it doesn't indicate that they were mishandled in a way that was detrimental to Trump. I mean, it's like, it's just so leading in a completely factless way.
Thieves handle it. And they had to do it in this case because they had to make up big numbers quickly, bigger than they thought. The Democrats were planning for this, but they weren't planning for 800,000 ahead in Pennsylvania.
We kind of were, in the sense that we believed that there could be a red mirage scenario, when there was.
They weren't planning on a 5% lead in Michigan and a 9% lead in Wisconsin. A lot of cheating had to be done, and the mail ballots gave them the opportunity to do it. Now, what I just showed you leads to a very, very important incident.
How many people watched
which
this?
We have
a lot. Wow.
3 affidavits for people who are there, and 1 statement from a person who's a whistleblower who is still nervous about coming forward.
Very nervous.
Here's the evidence that would be presented in court, at least by the 3 who are already under oath. Somewhere around 4 or 4:30 in the morning, when a whole shift was changing, a whole group of ballots came in, amounting to something close to 100,000 were brought in the middle of the night through the back door, not the normal door they came in. Ballots that looked and were packaged similar to.
All right, guys, this is just too stupid. I mean, I can't subject you guys to any more of this, but I appreciate you taking a look at, a little bit of it with me, but it is completely and totally bizarre stuff. Okay. All right. Yeah, I will take a couple of calls. It does not seem as though we're necessarily going to hear from the Trump administration today. I will take a couple of calls via Discord at davidpakman.com/Discord. Let me get updated numbers. We do now have an additional 17 members who signed up at joinpakman.com, which puts us at 64. That's a pretty solid number. I'm not going to lie. And then we got another 3 as far as Twitch is concerned, putting us up to 67. I love it, but I just want to hear from some of you guys, so we're going to do away with the normal formalities here. If you would like to talk to me, you can go to davidpakman.com/Discord and get into the waiting lobby. Make sure to change your nickname to location:name. Any fake names or fake locations, I guess location I wouldn't know, will immediately get you disqualified. We just don't do that. We don't deal with that. That's not the way we do it. Let me first go to, let me go to somebody from my birth country. Let me go to Federico from Argentina. Federico, hello.
Hello there, David.
¿Cómo estás?
How you doing? Do you want to do it in English or Spanish? It's up to you.
If you want to do English, let's do English so I don't have to translate for the audience.
Yeah, okay. So we were talking on Discord with the regulars in here, and I came up with something. To everybody to write down some predictions for the next 2 months. And I can tell you my prediction, and maybe we can get yours.
Okay.
Okay. So my prediction was the electoral results are certified, 306 for Biden, the rest for Trump. The counts are the recounts are started on the state that qualify for it, but nothing changes. Maybe like 300 votes. That's about it.
Yeah.
And well, Trump never accepts the results and locks himself in the Oval Office for 2 months or so. And 3 days after 3 days before Biden assumes the presidency.
Yes.
To avoid getting dragged out of the office, he being humiliated, which is really bad for his TV show, I guess. That's what I think he's going to do. He resigns and gets a presidential pardon from Pence. What do you think?
I basically agree with everything you're saying, except I am very skeptical about the resignation and the pardon from Pence. That's the only part I doubt. I think it's conceivable, but I don't think it's likely.
What percentage will you say like that? That's like 50-50.
I think that the resignation and pardon, I would assign it like a 10% chance.
Okay. So what do you think? Like, what will be your prediction?
Exactly yours, other than the resignation and pardon.
Okay. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Listen, is there any new kind of empanada that's popular now in Argentina that I might not have heard of?
No, not really.
Nothing new?
No, you have to stick to the classics.
What's your favorite though?
Carne cortada a cuchillo.
With or without raisins?
With raisins.
With raisins. That's from Salta, right?
Yeah, but I'm not there.
Okay, I know you can still get it, but that's the style from Salta, is that right?
Yeah, I guess they go for that, and like actually they put sugar.
That I'm less sure of. That I don't know about sugar. Well, let me ask you this: fried or oven baked? Do you prefer?
I like the taste. I prefer fried.
Oh no!
Really healthy. So like, yeah, like.
Oh no! What sets apart what sets apart the Argentinian empanada from all of these other empanadas is that you bake it instead of frying it. You have to go baked.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. Okay, good.
I'm with you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
De nada. Gracias.
Okay. There we go. Beautiful phone call. Beautiful phone call from Argentina there. Perfect phone call, I would even say. Let's go next. Where are we going next? There's just so many people trying to get on. And I want to be, I want to have all sorts of diversity from all standpoints. Let's try, oh, this is interesting. Let's go to, oh my God, that people are bailing as I'm about to go to them. Hold on. Let's go to Isidore from Tucson, Arizona.
Hey, Isidore, hey, David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. This is Isidore from Tucson, Arizona. I've been a big fan of the show for a long time. I recently became a member on your website. And
beautiful. That's the exact right thing to do.
And sorry, but I want to be brief as I'm torn between two questions. So I'd love for you to tell me which one you'd rather address. One on foreign policy and one about Trump's legacy.
Give me the legacy, since we're kind of, I feel like it makes sense to wrap that before we get into foreign policy.
All right, yeah. So regarding Trump's legacy, as an example, and I'll be brief, but even Nixon, when shown evidence of election meddling by his campaign staff, when more people voted for JFK in certain counties and swing states like Illinois and Texas, Nixon refused to pursue the lead. He said he didn't want recounts. He said that he didn't want the American people to hold any doubt in their minds over who their rightful president would be. His quote was, "Our country cannot afford the agony of a constitutional crisis."
Sure.
And that's Nixon, a guy who went on to be one of our most corrupt presidents, or at least one of the most corrupt who have ever been caught.
Yeah.
And even he had the integrity to concede. But now Trump isn't, and he has nowhere near as much evidence of voter fraud as Nixon. In fact, he has no evidence at all. How do you think this will affect his legacy? And how are we going to convince his millions of brainwashed followers to have faith in American democracy again?
The second part, I don't know. The first part is it's a disaster for his legacy. And what you have to understand is Nixon was horribly corrupt, but you can't say Nixon was stupid, and you can't say Nixon didn't. I hate to use this term because it's so fraught, but Nixon loved the United States and I know it's so dicey to even say that, but Nixon, to some extent, actually wanted to try to do what he thought was best for the country. Even, he was like an ends justify the means type of guy. I completely disagree with him. I think what he did was disastrous for the country. I think he was an anti-Semite. I think he was wrong on foreign policy, all this different stuff. But he still, and I'm kind of cringing by even saying it, but he liked the country in a way that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about the United States. And so I think that that's a key difference between the two.
Anyway, that's it. So thanks for taking my call. Goodbye.
Oh, my God. Okay, very good. Some kind of voice modulation there. I do like that. I'm being told by people, that was weird, that Trump called into Newsmax. So let me check that out. If that's true, I do want to listen to that. Did Trump call into Newsmax? He seemed to be happy about... Oh, he called the Newsmax CEO is what seems to have happened. Let's listen to that.
Here at Newsmax TV, Mr. Christopher Ruddy. Mr. Ruddy, I understand you just spoke with the President of the United States. What can you tell us?
Well, we had a really good phone call this afternoon, Chris. The President called me from the Oval Office. This afternoon. And the first thing he said, I want to congratulate Newsmax on your incredible ratings. He said, I've been watching Newsmax, but I've also been seeing the data on the ratings. He pointed out on some of our shows, we've gone over 700,000 per minute viewers.
Are they even on, is Newsmax even on television?
And he said he thought it was terrific, and that people, and he knows he's quite critical of Fox News.
If you're Newsmax right now, you're loving this, right? Like it's like Trump's just help. Trump's going down, but it sounds like he's going to help you anyway.
Everybody's telling me that I'm turning off Fox and going to Newsmax. And I thought it was a great compliment to the work that you're doing, Chris.
Perfect phone call.
The Newsmax team, that even the president's noticed, and that it's getting so widespread.
Guys, the president's noticed that you guys are the only sycophants left supporting him. That's all that the president has noticed. All right, let's do another couple phone calls here. Let me go to Lana DiCandide. I don't know what of this is the name and what is location, but is it Lana? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your name and what's your location? Let's see if we can clear that up. You don't know. Okay, all right, very good. That very strange stuff there. Let's go next to Stacy from the United Kingdom. Stacy from the UK. Stacy.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm actually an American living in the UK, so it's a different set of news over here than it is. And you do keep me sane through all of this, watching how everything that's going on.
Interesting. Stacy, have you picked up, like, is that like a 10% British accent you've picked up?
Possibly.
Oh, maybe 20%.
Yeah, I've lived here for 21 years.
Fair enough. Well, what can I do for you today?
I think you might have already answered it earlier, but it was just around the Trump going into, his own news channel or his own how do I want to say it? Podcasting.
Yeah.
What would you pin as a good name of a show for him to host post presidency?
Oh my God. I don't know. Plasma Hour, perfect half-hour show. I have no idea. I mean, I really don't know what winning with Donald Trump or something like that. People are saying the Orange Hour. I don't know. That's a trigger warning. Yeah, maybe trigger warning. Beyond the Hair, I like. That's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to think on that for a little bit.
Okay. Well, that's all I really had to say. I just want to say again, thank you for all you do. You're just fantastic.
My pleasure. What are you in London or where are you?
I'm in the West Country.
West Country. Wow, that sounds scenic.
It's Wiltshire.
Wiltshire. Okay, very good.
Or as you American. Yeah.
All right, Stacy, very good. We have a bit of a delay. I'm going to let you go, but I really do appreciate you calling in. Let's go next to Cody from Virginia. Cody from Virginia, you're on the air.
Hey, David.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just came here to tell you a story, if that's okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. I'm mildly curious so far. Let's see.
So I do a stream and a YouTube stream, and I have a YouTube channel. And last night I did this segment where I went onto Reddit, the right-wing side of Reddit, and posted, come onto my stream, ask a lefty anything. It's basically what it was.
Okay.
And I got 2 people to come on, and we had very productive conversations. One of which I got them to agree that Joe Biden's immigration policy was probably the best policy for America, which is very interesting.
Okay.
And also, I got them to agree that what Donald Trump did when he was trying to waive protections for gay people trying to adopt in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I got them to agree that that was wrong.
Beautiful.
So I just wanted to tell that little story of hope that some of these people can be reached with the right rhetoric, with the right facts, if they even care about facts. Some of them certainly don't.
That's great. Now, let me ask you this. How long did it take you to do that? How long was this conversation?
I think we talked in total for like 3 hours.
Okay, so you see the problem with this as a wholesale strategy, right?
Yeah, well, it was like probably 30 minutes before I actually got to the immigration thing, maybe.
So 2.5 hours, we could say, yeah.
Yeah, one of them was like way deep into conspiracy theory, though. It was like deep state, China's taking over America stuff. I didn't even like touch any of that because
No, that's dangerous stuff. All right, well, very interesting. I mean, I think we know what we're up against at least.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Great to hear from you. That's quite a situation for sure. Let's go next to Ronald Reagan calling from the state of Washington. Ronald Reagan, you're on the air.
Hey, David. How are you?
Good. How are you? You're coming through crystal clear today.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what you've managed to put together over here. Hey, I wanted to, you mentioned something about your dad writing something about magical thinking in the Trump world.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share a little bit about my background as a former Mormon or a foreman. And a lot of the parallels that I see with my former life and people in Trump world. At least one thing that I think is kind of important, and that's the reflexive rejection of information. So in the Mormon world, they have a term called anti-Mormon material or literature, which is a catch-all for anything that's critical of the church.
I'm guessing that's similar to in Scientology, this sort of idea of suppressive people and materials.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's fake news, right?
Right.
So Trumpism has fake news. And I remember when I was going through my so-called faith crisis, I would bring things up to my roommates at BYU about, hey, I read this thing at the library from a primary source. And without knowing anything about it, they were able to just tell me that that's anti-Mormon. Like
right.
Those are lies told by evangelical churches who are trying to, destroy Mormonism or whatever.
Sure.
And the same thing happens. I called the local talk radio. I call them all the time. I call them even more than I call you, if you can believe it. And if I bring up something and they ask where I read it, if I say it's like from the Washington Post or the New York Times, then they automatically know that it's completely fake news.
They believe that. They don't know it. They believe it.
Right. Well, they just know. Yeah. They don't need to read it. They don't need to know anything else.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard bubble to pierce, as the last caller was mentioning. I think that the best thing that people can do is just constantly be educating friends and family about checking sources and the problem with things like Facebook or people learning about, getting their news from social media, basically, which is a major problem.
Very well said. Are you still there, Reagan? He just disappeared. What on earth? Reagan is gone. And it was like right when he finished speaking. That's very strange. Okay. All right. Well, I hope Sam Cedar's okay with him calling in. I don't know, but that was just bizarre. Just bailed. Okay. Let's go next. Where are we going next? I had questions for him. Like, for example, did Sam approve that phone call? But we didn't, we just didn't get to it. It's too bad. All right, let's pick up on somebody else here. Let's go to San from China. San from China, you're on the air.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing, David?
Good. Where are you calling from in China?
I just gonna tell you I'm on the West Coast. I'm actually a Chinese international student.
You're in the United States right now, though.
Yeah, I've been living in the States for like last 8 years.
Oh, okay.
And, I'm currently working in tech industry. So yeah. First of all, I just want to congratulate you guys save your democracy for at least the next 4 years.
Yes, it will at least now continue to hang by a thread as opposed to being cut.
But I also want to remind you guys what a freaking mess you guys are still in.
Oh, you don't need to remind me, but yeah, okay.
And internationally, I mean, you know more than I do about what's going to happen domestically because Democrat didn't win the Senate, right?
Well, we don't know yet. We don't know yet, but it's looking, it'll be difficult. It's possible, but it'll be difficult.
Yeah, so Biden probably will be impossible for Biden to actually have the mandate of the government, which means you're probably going to waste another 4 years.
Well, let's hope it's no more than 2. Let's take it a step at a time. we've got 2 Senate races, and let's see how those go. If they don't go well, then we've got, 2022, the midterms, and then we'll see then.
It will be less terrible than Trump, definitely, but
absolutely,
it's still going to be a very difficult situation.
I agree.
And I really worry that if Biden cannot actually make any difference, I think in 2024, Republicans going to take over again.
Well, again, you're skipping many steps ahead, but Biden will make a difference because a lot of the disasters Trump did by executive order, Joe Biden will undo by executive order. So I disagree with you that Biden will make no difference.
I surely hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope America is gonna do well in the next 4 years. But I also want to remind you guys how much damage Trump has done internationally, how much ground Trump has given in Asia last 4 years.
Yeah.
Basically, American influence is basically non-existent in Asia right now.
You're right.
Which is super terrible for our own democratic development, because I think at least when I was growing up, I always look up to American, right? I think our society will eventually gradually become more and more democratic. But what Trump showed the world last 4 years, I think for the next 1 generation, 2 generation, people will be scared to actually go for that direction, because for them that means if we go that direction, probably we're gonna have more chaos.
Yes.
So that's very, very damaging to both Americans and to Chinese people, I think.
You are completely right in your assessment. I'm curious, what part of China are you originally from?
I'm from somewhere in the south, so it's kind of like Alabama in China. So
is it rural or was it a city?
It was a city, but it was not like a huge city.
I see. And what do you miss the most about living in China?
I mean the food, I guess. Yeah.
What's the particular dish that you can't get in California or wherever you're on the West Coast that you like?
There's so many. So.
Give me one I probably haven't heard of.
I probably only know their name in Chinese, so you probably wouldn't understand what it is. So.
Well, you could describe it to me. What is the dish? What is in the dish?
It's kind of noodles made from rice.
So. Rice noodles. Okay, that's a lot of dishes, I guess.
Yeah, but I actually won't intend to talk about more serious stuff. I want to remind Americans what a shitty situation you guys in, and you guys.
Yeah, but you did that. Now I want to hear about rice noodles.
Well, it was really spicy. It was really good. But guys, the word is look up on you guys. You guys really need to do better.
Yeah, we do. No, I apologize.
Get rid of yourself. This crazy conservatism is it's poisonous.
Love it. By the way, where are you calling from right now?
I'm in California. I work in the tech industry.
No, but I mean literally, where are you? Are you at a restaurant? Are you at a cafe?
I don't want to tell you because my family is in China, so I don't want the Chinese government to find out I'm talking to someone, progressive radio or something like that.
No, I just mean, are you out somewhere? I just hear noise in the background. I'm curious where you are. It's not a trick question.
Oh, okay. I'm near a highway, so I'm in the office.
You're near the highway. Okay, very good. Yeah. All right, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Very interesting calls today, I have to tell you. A lot of different things. A lot of different things going on. Let's go next to Beverly from Atlanta. Beverly from Atlanta, you're on the air. Beverly from Atlanta, you're on the air. Beverly from Atlanta, you're on the air. All right, Barry, that's too bad. I was looking forward to speaking to Beverly from Atlanta. Let's see who else we might be able to speak to here. It's interesting the different tricks people try for me to call on them. It's really kind of random. I mean, it's just there's so many people holding that it's difficult. Let's go next to the country of Chile and speak to Martin.
How are you, David? Do you listen to me?
I hear you.
I just wanted to ask, sorry for my English, I doesn't come from an English-speaking country, but my question is, what do you think will be the cost to the world the Trump administration that had like 4 years?
It's, I don't think we'll know the full cost until it's over, but the cost in terms of the damage to the climate is significant. And again, how do you measure it? I don't know, but we've lost 4 years on climate. The cost in terms of our alliances and relationships with countries, we'll know what the cost is once we figure out if they can be repaired quickly, right? And we just don't know that yet. Right? It's people in the chat are saying, "Do you have 5 hours for me to explain it?" The costs are going to be huge. Lost time on healthcare. I mean, what's the cost in terms of loss of life? How many people died who didn't have to because of Trump policy on coronavirus? The cost is huge. I don't even know how you start to measure it.
And also, I wanted to ask what this election shows to the world, for my personal view, is like people in United States. It's very I don't know how to divided, polarized, and like half of the country thinks in a way that is like way off the whole world. What do you have to say about that?
You're completely right. It's like on so many issues, you've got essentially the entire world and the American left. And then you've got Republicans who are by themselves, or maybe, what's crazy is often if you look around the world, the only people who believe certain things are Republicans and then religious extremists in places like Saudi Arabia and people, in dictatorships. But you're 100% correct.
But do you think this is going to stop, or it is going to be like more brutal in the next years? Because it's very clearly that you have, I don't want to say this, but like stupid people.
Yes.
Like if you compare it to the whole world.
Yes,
like,
yes.
The world is not leading to that way. It's like to the opposite. So like closing the country, thinking that every immigrant is like going to damage the society. For me, being a person living the other side of the world is like it's very sad, because you are one of the bigger economies in the whole world, and we all depend on you. So
I agree. And unfortunately, I think it will get better diplomatically with Joe Biden, but there are 72 million people who voted for Donald Trump. So I fear that it's getting worse in a way.
That's sad, man.
It's very sad. Very, very sad. Okay. Muchas gracias, amigo.
Gracias a ti.
Okay, there we go. Chile. Beautiful phone call from Chile. Let's take a couple more and just see who else is... Let's see if any of our friends are holding. Let's go to Elizabeth from... hold on, where was Elizabeth there? Elizabeth from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What's going on, Elizabeth?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, so I wanted to call to ask about, so I go to graduate school in Pittsburgh, and Richard Grinnell is a faculty member at our university.
Oh, no.
And there's been a lot of inter-university discussion, student groups trying to organize to get him kicked out of his senior fellow position.
Yeah.
And the dean of the college consistently responds by telling us that, it's within Richard Grinnell's capacity to say and do whatever he wants outside of his work hours. But because he's a fellow, there's no distinct work hours that he has. And we've been talking a lot amongst ourselves about how this is part of a larger trend where people who behave in these just totally like fascist ways are getting pardoned, not just from Trump's base, but that there are, legitimate institutions that allow people like Richard Grinnell to just do some like batshit stuff. And I wanted to get your thoughts on why that is, why even at the, high level institutionalized spaces like a school like Carnegie Mellon, why people like Richard Grinnell are allowed to behave the way they behave.
Well, you're bringing up a pretty difficult topic because on the one hand, I mean, it is true that what he does outside of the teaching role, you know, I think I've had people like when I was an adjunct professor at Boston College, this woman, and I forget her name now. This woman didn't like something I tweeted and she called Boston College and said, you got to fire this guy. And they said, well, he's adjunct. He's not even teaching this semester. And it was kind of just a shit show. And so I do think that's a bigger and more difficult topic because it is true. I mean, I find Richard Grenell's views disgusting. I find the way he's propped up the Trump administration with lies absolutely immoral. But that I am still unclear about like when do you go after people's jobs and that type of thing. And it sounds like you're saying why hasn't the school fired him and should they have? And you know I don't know. I think that's a complicated thing. If a crime hasn't been committed, obviously the school could say at any time his conduct is unbecoming of the institution. They could do that at any time. I don't know. I just don't know. You know what the line is on that stuff.
Yeah, so that's the core discussion happening with student groups, and I think where we're all at with it right now, at least the student groups that I'm a part of, I feel like because of his anti-mask, behavior and sort of promoting not wearing masks, that like that's when it crosses into the territory of
that would be an argument.
Harming.
That would be an argument. Yeah, like listen, we can't have anybody in or off campus in any capacity promoting something that is just a public health danger. That would be like a very but then the thing is they'd really have to apply it to everybody. And if some unknown adjunct, for example, tweeted something similar, then they'd really have to apply it to everybody. And it's just very complicated. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's very true. Very complicated. Yeah. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, my pleasure. Great to hear from you. That is going to do it for calls for today. I really appreciate everybody who joined me. I really appreciate everybody who signed up and contributed in all sorts of different ways. Moderators on both YouTube and Twitch, please email me specifics about what changes I need to make to Nightbot because I heard it was a little bit overzealous today. I will make them. We will continue to improve, and I'll be back with everybody very, very soon.